He was wanted for attempted robbery and allegedly stealing a car. Then it's claimed he ran a red light. It ended in the death of 69-year-old grandmother Rosemary Franzides. She never stood a chance. The accused is 16. He doesn't have a licence, now charged with manslaughter.
The female was unable to be resuscitated and has since passed away.
This is a tragic but all too familiar sight. Carnage in Queensland. It's allegedly at the hands of a teenage boy.
We currently have a 16-year-old male offender in custody.
Her name is Rosemary Franzides, the innocent victim of this crash. She'll forever be 69 years old, and sadly the latest face of the youth crime crisis. Rosemary's family remembering her as a much-loved woman of strong faith, survived by her husband of nearly 50 years, 3 daughters and 3 beautiful grandchildren.
The 16-year-old is known to police and currently has matters before the court.
Police say at 9:30 yesterday morning, a woman was carjacked with a firearm, allegedly by the 16-year-old boy. Taking off in a blue Audi, it's alleged he smashed into the 69-year-old grandmother's Corolla, ending her life, before hitting a police car, injuring 2 officers and ending a 15-minute rampage. He's charged with manslaughter, armed robbery, unlawful use of a motor vehicle and 2 counts of assault occasioning bodily harm.
You grieve for the family and you think of the family.
We know their names and faces, but we shouldn't. Emma Lovell, murdered by a teenager at her home. Kate Ledbetter, Matthew Field, their unborn son Miles, killed by a stolen car. Vilene White, stabbed at her local shops. Her husband Victor spoke with a current affair.
He didn't just kill her, he killed the 4 of us with her.
A new premier in power and new hope this tragedy will be the last.
And I think that's what actually got him over the line in the election, to be honest. So I hope he does do the right thing by our communities.
It makes you so angry, and it is hard to see how or when it ends. That poor, poor family. David Crisafulli is Queensland's new Premier and joins me. Thank you so much for your time, Premier. It makes you think, right? That could be any one of us going about our day, doing the right thing, and the next moment, we're gone.
Just doing a normal thing like a normal Queenslander, and the allegations will be tested in court. But just think about the number of families that have been impacted, the most traumatic of experience for somebody in the prime of their life, just going about their business, someone going to an art class allegedly held up, police officers trying to do their job, keeping their community safe and being collateral damage. Things have to change, and I assure you they will.
Yeah, and just before we talk about the alleged killer and youth crime, I think we should for a moment focus on the victim, because I think they often get forgotten in this process. So you've got Rosemary Franzides. We just heard their beautiful grandmother, mother, married for nearly 50 years. Senseless loss of a good life, Premier.
A good life with so much life to live, and to have the experience that we're feeling through victims repeatedly shows you what it means to the state when you lose someone in a situation like this.
Yeah, I think there is that great sadness. There is also great anger. We just heard it there. Queenslanders have had enough. Now, you won the election on the promise you'd fix the youth crime crisis. Is it even possible?
Of course it is, and we have to have a situation where we drive down the number of victims. And I made a promise to Queenslanders before the election that by the end of the year, adult crime, adult time will be law in this state, and we intend to keep our promise. We are drafting the legislation. It will go to Parliament in the first sitting, and it will be law in the second sitting before Christmas. It removes detention as a last resort. It puts in sentencing that the rights of the victim have to come before the rights of the offender. And we're also going to do gold standard early intervention to help turn kids around before they get to that path. Rehabilitation when they're inside jail, giving them discipline and education, and when they leave jail. But for the worst of the worst, there's got to be consequences for actions.
So when you say adult crime, What exactly is that?
There's 5 adult crimes. The first is murder, and there will be a minimum mandatory life. Then there's manslaughter, unlawful wounding, theft of a car and break-in of houses. It's the 5 crimes that have ripped the heart and soul out of Queensland.
Because this is a kid with criminal history. We don't know too much about it, but there are reports it includes property offences and breaches of bail. What are we doing then with someone like this to stop it escalating into what we've just seen today and in the last 24 hours, where you've now got this teenager accused of manslaughter, armed robbery?
We've got a generation of hardcore repeat untouchables, and they know that. And the failings for the system goes right throughout it. It's everything from the way that the Child Safety Department hasn't been properly resourced to help vulnerable kids stay on the straight and narrow. It's residential care where kids living out of home don't get the support and the structure that they need. It's the way that jails are operated where kids are getting less than 3 hours schooling a day. There's no rehabilitation when they leave.
And that is a massive list of things you need to fix. And every one of them is going to cost a lot of money.
And every one of them has been budgeted, and we took that to the election. And a good system is one that sends the strongest of messages to the hardcore repeat offenders, but also has the most compassion and structure and love at the beginning of that journey. And if you get that right, you can create what we need to do, and that is fewer victims. Everything we do is about fewer victims for Queensland.
OK, so how long is this all going to take? For instance, say a kid comes across a desk tomorrow, 12 years old, doesn't have family support, is on the wrong path. How soon until you can get that child into an early intervention program, can have support around them? When will that be in place?
Immediately. We have to start doing early intervention like we've never seen before.
OK, but do you have the resources for that? You can't just set that up overnight.
You're spot on, Ali. Our first budget will feature heavily with this, but in the meantime, it's about changing the laws so that the front line, the police, know that they've got a government that's got their back. And we've seen the number of police, the attrition rate in the Queensland Police Service is at 6% at the moment. That's at historic highs. We've got to get that down. You're right, there are things that will take time, and there will always be crime, but that doesn't mean that we can't do better.
So I just want to raise this with you because this 16-year-old's case was heard in court today. He wasn't there, but the magistrate locked out the media. His identity is protected anyway, but this sort of goes to the problem, doesn't it? For justice to be done, it needs to be seen.
You bet, and one of the changes we'll be taking is to open the courtrooms up. No one is suggesting that a young person's name should be out there. But if Queenslanders want to see success, they have to have the courts opened.
Premier, you have made some massive promises. What do you reckon your grace period is before people's anger turns on you the next time we have an incident like we've just seen?
Ali, I just want Queenslanders to know it's deeply personal to me. And I've never stood up and said to Queenslanders there won't be youth crime. Everybody accepts that is part of a society. But you don't accept that Queensland can be 3 times more likely to have a car pinched than New South Wales. I don't accept that, and neither do the people I listen to.
Well, Premier, I very much appreciate your passion for this. It's early days, and I know you've campaigned hard on youth crime. The pressure, obviously, moving forward would be on for results, but I think you would agree with me. Our thoughts and prayers are with Rosemary's family tonight.
They sure are, Ali. Thanks very much for your time.